Hello! Today's stories come from r/ProRevenge. We have 2 revenge stories today, and our first will make any sports fan's blood boil. Story 1 is titled, My Boss Stole My Super Bowl Tickets, so I Made Him Lose a Major Client. With the NFL playoffs back on, I thought you all might enjoy this football-related revenge story. I'm a huge 49ers fan, the rabid all-day tailgate in the parking lot type. A few years ago, we made it back to the Super Bowl. I was working at a consulting firm with a handful of accounts I would interact with directly. One client in particular knew how big of a Niners fan I was. I was the day-to-day lead on his account. He really liked working with me, and we became friends, often grabbing drinks or dinner after our meetings. He had access to a pair of extra company seats to the game, and as a thank you, wanted to give them to me as a gift. He passed the tickets over to the partner on that account, who I will refer to as Halfwit Partner, to be given to me as a surprise. The game came and went. We lost. It sucked. The next time we met, we went to drinks afterward, and he mentioned, Hey, by the way, why didn't you go to the game? I heard someone else was in your seats. I asked, What game? He said, The Super Bowl. Confused, I answered, I didn't have seats to the Super Bowl. He told me that he gave Halfwit Partner a pair of his company tickets for me as a gift so I could attend. I had zero idea what he was talking about. He looked shocked, told me to quietly ask around about it and get back to him. When I was back in the office the next week, I found out through one of the secretaries that Halfwit Partner had given a pair of Super Bowl tickets to another one of his clients as a gift from our company. I might have let this sort of thing go to keep the peace under different circumstances, but these were seats on the 30-yard line to see the effing 49ers play in the Super Bowl. I was upset. I considered confronting Halfwit Partner myself, but realized it was the client who had noticed I wasn't there in the first place. So if I let him handle it, there would be no blowback on me. So I texted him, Hey, I just wanted to thank you so much for thinking of me with those seats. It appears that they were given to another one of our firm's clients. He texted back right away in all caps. Are you kidding me? And then, pretend I never told you. Let me handle it. He followed up with me about formulating a plan. A few days later, we were asked to come down for a meeting in their office. The client requested the partner to be present, not entirely unusual. So Halfwit Partner and I hopped a flight the next week and headed over to their office. Little did Halfwit Partner know, my client had orchestrated a wonderfully awkward little show to catch him red-handed. When we entered the conference room, it was all the usual suspects, along with a woman in her 30s we didn't recognize. My client immediately introduces, Halfwit Partner, this is Stephanie such and such, VP from other department. She wanted to sit in on this meeting. Hey OP, you guys must already know her from the Super Bowl. She then responds as she goes to shake my hand, Oh, I don't think so. Did we meet there? I'm sorry if I forgot. Client responds, Geez, Steph, how much did you have to drink? They were sitting right next to you. Client looks at me and I say, Sorry, client, I wasn't there. Are you thinking of someone else? At this point, Halfwit Partner is looking visibly uncomfortable, probably trying to come up with an excuse. He starts in with when Stephanie says over him, No, so-and-so from other company were in the other seats. By the way, I was wondering why we gave company seats to those guys. Is there a project we're working with them on that I don't know about? Obviously not. They were in completely different industries. It would be like Coca-Cola partnering with John Deere. Halfwit Partner lets out an, again, and the client immediately speaks over him asking, Halfwit Partner, I gave you those tickets for OP? At this point, Halfwit Partner is turning bright red. He responds, well, he wasn't able to make it, so he must have given the seats away to someone else? And turns to me, looking for me to cover for him. Client smirks at me. I respond, what are you talking about? Client, you gave me tickets to the Super Bowl? Client suddenly raises his voice. Halfwit Partner, those tickets were a personal thank you gift from me to OP. Did you give them away to someone else? Pause. Was it another client? Halfwit Partner butts in with, maybe something got mixed up in the office? Client went quiet for what probably seemed like an eternity to half-wit partner. He then looked down, grabbed his portfolio and iPad, put them into his briefcase and said, "I think this meeting is over. OP, it seems as if I owe you a thank you gift. Let's go to lunch. Stephanie, you're welcome to join. Half-wit partner, I need to evaluate our relationship. Please go back home and expect to hear from us next week." Half-wit partner suggests he would like to join, presumably to do damage control, and Stephanie sternly tells him, "I don't think that's a good idea," and asks the front desk to see half-wit partner out. As soon as he is in the elevator, we all break out laughing hysterically. Stephanie wasn't really a VP, just an employee at the company who client had drafted into helping with his pre-planned meeting skit. But she did end up coming to lunch with us and was a fellow Niners fan and total blast to hang out with. On our way to the restaurant, I got a desperate text from half-wit partner saying I needed to cover for the firm and that we could discuss things when I got back. I replied, "Yes, we need to talk, but I'll see what I can do." Client told me to wait a couple hours and then respond to him. 1. To expect invoices for the resale value of the Super Bowl tickets, resale is way above face value. It was over $10,000, as well as our lunch. He picked a pricey spot and made a big show of overspending, and that he expected them to be paid immediately. 2. Expected I be given a direct apology. 3. Expected a written apology to his company for what he considered theft. And 4. He will only interact with me or another one of our firm's partners. Never half-wit partner. This whole thing caused a stir with the other partners, and I actually came off looking great because it appeared that I had made a good faith effort to save the client for the firm, despite being the victim in this situation. The client would transfer to another partner, which meant half-wit partner lost his profit share on any work with them. Oh, and the other partners in the firm made half-wit partner pay the invoices back out of his salary. In retrospect, I really have no idea what the heck the guy was thinking. Did he seriously believe the client would just not notice me not thanking him for Super Bowl tickets? Anyway, the well was kind of poisoned for me there long term because half-wit partner wasn't going anywhere. I left the firm a few months later for a much better position. Client ultimately terminated their relationship with that firm a year later. He actually now works with a good friend of mine at a competing firm. I'm still upset I missed out on the Super Bowl, even though we lost. Hoping we make it back this year so I can finally go to one in person. Go Niners! In the comments, Dehef said, "Holy crap, I can't imagine the logic in giving the tickets to another client when the gifting company would likely have other staff in attendance." OP replied, "My best guess is that he's not much of a sports fan and was kind of oblivious to how big of a deal Super Bowl tickets actually are. Either that, or he's such an idiot that he thought he could get away with it." Slukad shared, "Man, I'm just remembering my corporate ethics training around gifts, which boils down to, don't bribe people, don't accept bribes. The fact that the partner would pull that makes me suspect you could have really hurt him legally with claims of impropriety." OP replied, "Truth is, billion-dollar sports stadiums would not exist if it weren't for business-to-client gifts. Seat licenses in a new football stadium can be $100,000 per seat, just for the rights to buy those tickets. The company I'm with now has several of them for the Rams, Lakers, and Dodgers. We're encouraged to offer them to clients, take them to games, concerts, etc. It's kind of accepted as a relationship building rather than bribery. Take that for what you will, but it's not even remotely out of the ordinary." For OP's sake, I really hope this wasn't a one-and-done kind of opportunity. You really never know with sports teams. But if half-wit partner blocked OP from his only chance as a diehard fan to see his team play in the Super Bowl, that's despicable. Our second story hints at a bit of petty revenge as an inconvenienced woman aims to get even. Story 2 is titled, "Total Wine would not sell me the specific wine I drove for because they claim I was with someone else who left. I was alone. So I made a $10,000 order and never picked it up." I got mad all over again writing this because of the sheer amount of disrespect from Total Wine Management. I have the receipt for this order too. There's a specific wine I used to pair with food, and the closest Total Wine that had it was a 60-mile drive. It was storming out, and I wanted it for the holidays because most likely was going to be cooped up inside. So I drive over. This used to be my typical Total Wine until I moved 2 counties away. Anyway, I go in and pick up the wine and get some other stuff for holiday parties. Was in there maybe an hour, and it comes time to check out, and the cashier asks me for my ID. So I give it to her, and then she tells me she needs to see the ID of the other person I was with. So now I'm confused and say, I'm alone? And she says, well, I have to go get my manager. Okay, fine. So he comes out to tell me that she told him I was with someone and they need to come back and bring their ID, or they won't sell it to me. I told him I wasn't with anyone. He asks to see my ID, looks at it, and says, well, unfortunately, you look young. At this point, I'm like, are you serious? And he's like, you can come back tomorrow alone. I find it extremely disrespectful to tell someone they look young while you're holding their ID in your hand. Not to mention, I've been shopping at that exact location for about 4 years and have never had a problem. So I told him about how I drove there and have been shopping there for years and that I even have a second form of ID, and he was just kind of giggling and saying no. So I left very angry, and it was late, around 9 p.m., and then I had the about hour and a half drive back home in the rainstorm. So I was home, upset about it, all night, and the next day I went into the one close to my house to get the other stuff I was getting. Unfortunately, that one was out of the wine. That's why I didn't go there. They were pleasant, as usual, actually beyond nice, and didn't even ID me, which just goes to show the other location was on some kind of power trip or something. Then I got an email from them to review my experience, which they send every time I go there, and I never do it. But I decided to select the location I had the bad experience at and give feedback on it. So I wrote exactly what happened, and then the next day I got a call from the store manager. Turns out the guy that night was an assistant manager or something. However, he was much more pleasant than the woman that called me. She was extremely rude and condescending and told me that she reviewed the cameras and that someone walked in with me at the same time, and that made us a party. I told her I didn't know them. She said it didn't matter. So apparently, people can't walk into a Total Wine at the same time as you? Then she said that the employees were watching me and that the person left 30 minutes before I went to check out and they saw it. Okay, so? Also, if that is the case and that is your policy, why didn't you say something when you saw the person leave? We could have cleared up the whole situation right then and there. Instead of continuing to allow me to shop for another 30 minutes and waste my time to know that when I came to check out, you were going to deny it? So I told her, even if that is the case, someone can't leave a store. And she said, no, to complete the transaction, they would have to drive back with their ID. This made me extremely angry because even if that is the case and that is your policy, at least you can offer an apology for the inconvenience or something like that. Not just call me to argue and stir the pot. I was already kind of over it because it had been like 2 days, but just her whole attitude and nastiness about the whole thing was really insult to injury. So I decided to look up their policy, and their policy clearly states that this only applies to parties at checkout. So the rule is who is with you at checkout, which makes sense or is at least more understandable. Another policy I read, which was interesting, was that any online order not picked up within a week, they will issue a full refund to your original payment method. So, my friends and I were sitting home drinking the stuff I had got at the other location later that day and telling them what happened, and they were all shocked. I used to work retail for a long time, specifically during COVID, and I know what an inconvenience it is to set up big curbside pickup orders. They take up a lot of space on the order shelf. So, drunk and mad, I decided to enforce their own policy on them and make a $10,000 order for the soonest possible pickup time, which they promise orders ready in 3 hours. So I made sure to order the cheapest and heaviest bottles I could think of. It would take up the most amount of space in their curbside. I also made sure to only order like 1 or 2 of each so they couldn't just give me a case. They had to get individual ones. I ordered their whole supply of Tito's since it's popular and it's the holidays and I know people are going to be looking for it, which was important because this Total Wine has its curbside order section in the front, behind a counter, where you can see it. And I know when customers saw it, they would ask for it and then they would have to explain how someone ordered all 238 bottles and they're back there on reserve. Then they'd probably get grouchy and ask for a manager. But the manager would be busy because I also made sure to order a lot of bottles behind the glass. That was so they would have to run around with their keys scrambling to get this order ready. I worked retail, and I know how much stuff like this throws off a schedule and annoys the managers. So I loaded up the cart and stopped when I got bored and placed the order. I got the email confirmation, which specified that you have to wait for the pickup confirmation email. It also said that pickup times aren't guaranteed, so I thought for sure they were either going to cancel the order or call me or something. And something interesting that is sent with the email is a pickup policy that states specifically the recipient of the order needs to be 21. So you can have other people in your car not 21? Well, 5 hours later, I got the pickup email. It took them longer, but I was still surprised. Then later, I got a pickup reminder email. Then 3 days later, a second reminder. Then 7 days, I got my final notice email. And then, day 10, I got a phone call. It was the manager acting like a completely different person this time, asking when I was coming for the order. At this point, I think she knew I was effing with them because it had been 10 days and she knew my name from the previous feedback thing. When she called, she asked for me by name and my name was on the order. So I told her, yeah, I went to pick it up and was told I looked too young. So I just went to the other Total Wine and picked up the same stuff there. So then she was mad and said, are you seriously not coming to pick this up? Restock. I just said, nah. She hung up. Laugh my butt off. When your higher up asked you why your store had to refund someone $10,000, explain to them what you did. Laugh my butt off. They were supposed to automatically cancel the order at the 7-day mark, but didn't. She called me at day 10. So I called their customer service line to cancel it, and she told me some stores wait till the end of the month to do it. I'm assuming the manager was trying to hold out on refunding to end the year on a better number. Retail does that. I made them cancel it right then. In the comments, PBJ said, Total Wine Management always are on power trips. A friend had just left the checkout line with a shopping cart full for a 4th of July party. Management grabbed his cart before he could leave and yelled that he needed to pay. He told them he did pay, and if they didn't let him leave, he was going to return the whole cart. And no, he wouldn't show them the receipt like they asked. Had they asked nicely for a receipt, he would have shown them. But violently grabbing the cart was enough for him. He returned the whole cart while the manager tried to apologize and talk him out of it. Say What shared, I hate Total Wine and stopped shopping there a few years ago. I'm 63, and the last time I was there, I was probably 60. It is obvious that I am of legal drinking age. Old woman, white hair, wrinkles everywhere. But aside from that, I produced my ID at checkout. I too was told that there was someone else with me when I entered the store, and they needed to check out with me and produce their ID. When I had entered the store, I slightly tripped on the floor mat, and another customer entering caught my arm and prevented me from falling. That person was not shopping with me. They can go F themselves. As a person that doesn't mind the inconvenience of being asked to produce my ID when buying liquor, I will say that this would be so irritating. It has to be one of the stupidest policies I've ever seen. I don't understand. Am I missing something? Don't they know that most parents drink? Are parents not allowed to bring their children into the liquor store with them? I'm so confused. What am I missing? Please enlighten me in the comments. If you've enjoyed the story and would like to hear more, consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. Thanks, and bye for now.